The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
It is magic time. Hello and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show. I am one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
And I'm the other host, Warren Van.
Yes, episode 23 on May 29th. No, it's not May. It's April 29th.
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
I don't know.
May 29th is like after Memorial Day weekend. That's how far away that is.
I never know the difference between Memorial Day and Labor Day. And Labor Day is the end of the summer.
Labor Day is the one when you go to school that for some reason you start for a couple days then have a day off.
Right.
That's Labor Day.
Okay.
Memorial Day is the day you have off, like right before summer
Memorial
break.
Day, you're not supposed to wear black after Memorial Day.
Is that what it is?
Apparently.
Oh, you can't. You're supposed to start wearing white. You're not supposed to wear white after Labor Day.
Yeah.
You just start wearing black. Is that what it is?
I guess.
I've heard that. I don't
know that you live your life very strictly by those edicts, but
So you just wear
the rest of us just kind of muddle along.
for like 8 or 9 months out of the year. You're just wearing black all the time.
Yes. Or you're not supposed to wear...
Don't wear white after Labor Day.
You're not supposed to wear white as the primary color of your outfit, apparently, because that's a spring color. And when you go into fall and winter, you're supposed to wear more subdued, dark, earthy tones.
Well, you know, as I approached your apartment building today before we were recording, I did notice how brightly dressed you were.
Yeah.
You're like really like just like
I guess for me,
a
it's...
beacon.
I don't adhere. I wear black almost exclusively all the time. So yeah, I do have a yellow shirt and a red like track jacket on. Which today was funny. Some person who I don't know really well, but they saw me, you know, wearing this little ensemble, and they seem very upset and confused by it. Because I think often I wear, you know, shirt and tie or, you know, kind of dress up when I go out. And I think that's the only time they ever see me. So they were like, you look very casual
You do
today.
look very casual today.
Yeah.
And as I was waiting in the street, I wasn't sure it was you.
I like to unwind every once in a while.
Good.
Can't always be a stuffed shirt.
No.
And it's not just because I got attacked for wearing a suit the other day. I'm like, I want to dress down a little more often.
You can't let that hate crime
I know.
change your life.
Got to get back out on the hip horse.
I was talking to a friend of mine about this, though, who insisted that it was actually a hate crime in the sense that in the past or in the future, these people could be attacking gay people, and those are hate crimes, and you not reporting it, it's allowing this to continue.
God.
You don't think... and that sort of made sense to me. It is true. These are awful people.
Well, yeah, and they got... See, this is the one thing that has annoyed me about this whole incident is that my whole point in, like, posting it on Facebook and everything was to brag about it, because I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
I was pleased by the entire thing, and I think most men understand that, but again, I was at this party last night where a couple people who I hadn't seen in a while came up and were like, oh my God, I heard about what happened and all this shit. And I can't seem to get it across to people that I was actually happy that it had happened and that it was a good experience. And again, there were people like, oh, you should be careful when you walk home, and maybe you should have a friend with you and all this stuff. I'm like, I'm not a 20-year-old college student girl who's going to get raped on their way home, you know?
Well, we'll see.
The worst that could happen is, let's say that it had gone wrong and I had gotten beaten up.
Yeah.
To me, that's not that big of a deal. I mean...
Well, it depends how badly beaten you are.
Well, I guess, but it's... To me, like, okay, if somebody bludgeoned me to within an inch of my life with an iron pipe, okay, that would sort of suck. But just getting kind of beaten up, maybe getting a black eye, maybe getting a concussion or something, it's not that big a deal. To me, that's just like par for the course of being a man.
Is just being beaten by strangers in the
No,
street?
but like I don't consider that like, oh, I'm going to have to go call the police.
No, but the thing that this person, my friend, was saying to me made sense to me in the fact that, like, the next person who might be some, like, 16-year-old gay kid walking down the street and they yell that at him and they come out and then beat him with an inch of his life.
Yeah, I mean, I can sort of see that. But again, like, I don't know. To me, it didn't seem as though they were people who were going out looking for gay people to beat up.
But they were going out looking for people to beat up.
Yeah, but they just happen to... they're just going to try to beat up. But maybe they won't next time. Maybe they'll be worried that they'll actually be injured if they do something like that. Because we've had this discussion before where I remember you were talking about some friend who I don't know if there was some sort of traffic incident and some guy was being a dick and like trying to, I don't know what it was exactly. Maybe the story will ring a bell with you, but basically he punched the guy afterwards and you were very adamant about how that needed to happen so that guy would learn in the future that if he tried to enforce his bullshit on people.
We've talked about this in the past. I feel that if there are people out there who are being very inappropriate in their behavior and attempting to intimidate people constantly and are maybe picking on your grandmother or children or the weak, if they do happen to stumble upon someone
who doesn't take shit,
who can deal with it, those people should be dealt with in a severe way. And I don't feel bad for the people who get dealt with in a severe way. If they get their ass kicked, they've been picking on people for a long time, they're supposed to get their comeuppance. That's how these things happen. I agree with that.
And so that's kind of my feeling about the whole thing is if these people are the kind of people who constantly go out trolling for trouble and, you know, throwing their weight around and trying to intimidate people, if more people fight back and they actually realize that there are consequences for their actions, then maybe they'll be less likely to just randomly harass
You think what you
people.
did to them, so with sufficient consequences, you think it's going to give them...
It was enough that, like, I mean, I didn't kick the shit out of them or anything like that, but it was... What they were hoping for was to find somebody and beat them up.
Yeah.
And then go home.
Yeah.
You know, and have another beer, have another tall boy or something once they got home. And the fact that that didn't happen, maybe, you don't know. It's not always that easy. You can't just always harass people and have no consequences for it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Which is, you know, leads me to my next announcement.
Okay.
If you want to join me in this, I think... maybe some vigilante work late at night in Bellingham.
We're going to start trolling the streets,
get some
beating people
outfits.
up.
I don't know. You can get a little kick-ass action going on.
Yeah, but I feel like we've talked about this before about the superhero people. Who are trolling the streets looking for crimes and then seeing crimes and stopping them. And how we never see any crimes.
Yeah.
We could troll the streets forever and never see anything.
Yeah, I know.
But I do agree, if there is some poor gay kid walking on the street and these guys stop and attempt to beat him up, I'll go beat up the people who are trying to beat up the gay kid. That's I'll definitely do that.
That's only right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That is a good point you make about not reporting it. But at the same time, what would I have reported? I didn't see a license plate. I think it was a Honda, a car of some sort.
Yeah.
Like a Honda Accord.
Yeah.
I never, ever think of calling the police.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is.
I don't know, because he operates outside the law or something for some reason?
No, I don't know. It's just... I guess it's the same way with me. Like, I've been very, very poor in the past, and I never think of, like, getting food stamps or going to the food bank or, you know, getting any sort of government. It just doesn't occur to me to do that. And so if something like... I mean, I guess if somebody robbed me at gunpoint and then shot a passerby afterwards, I would probably call the police and report
a weird
that.
crime, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
They robbed you at gunpoint and then
shot somebody else.
Well, I don't want
them
if you
to
tell
shoot
the
me.
police, I'll do this to you, and they shoot some other random person. Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm glad you didn't shoot me.
What a bizarre thing to do. I was watching... This makes me think of the Law and Order I was watching last night.
Oh, yeah? SVU?
No, classic. Been watching some of the, like, real original Law and Orders, which are kind of awkward and not really well written
I've never
sometimes.
seen this show, ever.
You've never seen Law and Order?
Mm-mm.
But you've never actually seen the Law and Order with, like, Paul Sorvino and from back in the day? Huh. That shocks me.
Really?
Because that show has on for like 20 years, and
I
it's on reruns constantly everywhere.
Well, I don't have TV.
I guess so.
Yeah.
As I was watching a Law and Order last night with a girlfriend, we were laying there watching the show.
With a girlfriend?
With one of them.
Okay.
And I heard the train go by. Toot toot. And I swear to God, I heard some drunken person outside yell, "Train break!"
No way.
And I said, "Look, someone yelled train break." And she was like, No. That's ridiculous. And I was like, No. I'm pretty sure they did. She's like, "No, there's no way."
We're both becoming obsessed with our pop culture influence that we're having on people now. It is funny, though, because people, it's mostly people we know who will mention things about the podcast and, like, refer to, that's how women are when something happens at a party or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of, like, rude behavior that needs to be punished.
Oh.
It was another one of my trying to be a good Samaritan sort of issues today. I was downtown having some coffee and noticed this kind of asshole-ish looking guy. You could just tell right away by looking at him that he was an asshole. He had one of those, like, neck fat rolls.
Yeah.
And kind of like a weird bulldog, beady-eyed kind of face.
Yeah.
But he was getting out of his car downtown, and he was starting to put money in the parking meter.
Yeah.
And on the weekends in downtown Bellingham, the parking meters are free. You don't have to put any money in.
The
so
tourists.
Yeah.
So you know that when you come to town and visit the site of the Warren and Bradley show.
So I was like, okay, I'll tell this guy that he doesn't need to put any money in the meter. So I was like, hey, on the weekends it's free. And he went, pfft. And he started still putting money in the meter. I was like, no, seriously, it's free on the weekends. He goes, yeah, right, buddy. Like, no, it's actually free. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to not put any money in this meter. Then I'm going to go have my lunch. And when I come back, I'm going to have a goddamn parking ticket. Yeah, thanks a lot. Okay, why would I just randomly go up to people?
It's a weird prank to tell someone not to put money in a meter and so they get a parking ticket.
Right. I'm sitting around in the parking lot waiting for people to park, and then I go and approach them, tell them not to put any money in the meter, and then once they come back and see the ticket on their car, I just laugh uproariously.
It's actually written on the meter too, in that little area.
It is, yeah. And I told him, like, look, and he wouldn't. He was like, no way, man. I'm not going to fall for this bullshit. It's like, what do you...
There's no angle for you in that.
No.
That's the thing.
That's the thing.
If you were like, don't put the money in the mirror, give the money to me,
yeah,
then I could see why he would be suspicious. But the fact that you'd be like, just like, you don't have to pay the meter.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm just a very capricious, weird person who goes around fucking with people, apparently.
Do you remember that case of that old woman in Florida a couple years ago who was like feeding people's meters for them?
No.
And she got like arrested for it or something.
You know, that's such bullshit. I actually saw a bum the other day putting money in random parking meters. He was begging on the street and getting change from people, and then when he got change, he would go to parking meters that were expired and putting money in the meters. It's a very altruistic, weird thing for a homeless person to be doing.
That is a CBS pilot right there.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I didn't have any interaction with him, so it can't be a street freak of the week, but I was quite impressed. All right, let's go right into Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show, because I think some of the topics on Celebrity Minute can actually be a springboard for other topics after Celebrity Minute. We'll get some synergy going here.
Okay.
So now it's time for Celebrity Minute.
Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
All right, I don't know what the story is, but apparently Richard Simmons says David Letterman is very standoffish. I think you know that Richard Simmons is often a guest on the David Letterman show, and David Letterman seems to have him on there for the sole purpose of making fun of him.
Making fun of him because he's a freak.
Yeah, he is a freak, and I don't know if he knows that he is.
I assume he does. Why? How could you act like that and not know?
I don't know. The only reason I picked the story, though, was just this one quote. He was talking about how when he's on the show, Letterman apparently is very polite to him while they're on air, which I don't see that happening.
No.
He's just constantly making fun of him.
Yeah.
But then as soon as they go to commercial, he gets taken off the set, and he's not allowed to talk to Dave while there's a commercial break. And so this quote, he says, they're asking him if he would ever go on the show again. He said, maybe one day when the time and everything is right, because I do love him, the fitness icon muses. The last time I was on, we went to commercial, and I was like, I'd love to meet your wife. He was like, you never will. And then I was like, and see your son. And he was like, you'll never see him. And then we came back from commercial, and he's all friendly with me again.
Okay, this is what I'll say about Letterman. People sometimes say that like Letterman is standoffish, sort of like formal. But good for him. He's working in an industry with Richard Simmons and a bunch of fucking people from Jersey Shore. Human refuse, basically. He's interviewing these people. He does not need to be their friends.
He gets paid to put out a show and to be entertaining. He doesn't get paid to be buddy-buddy with idiots. Yeah.
And he doesn't care about that. He does his show. He gets paid an obscene amount of money, and he gets in a limousine and goes back to Connecticut every day.
Yeah.
That's his life. And he has a place in Montana that he goes to.
Good for him.
That's the way he should be doing it.
Yeah.
If he was hanging out with like Richard Simmons and all this vomit that he like is hanging out around that show after work, like drinking with them constantly, it would creep me out.
Well,
he shouldn't be doing that.
He wouldn't have time to have sex with interns if he was doing
exactly.
Here's a story of a celebrity hero.
Ooh,
Patrick Dempsey.
McDreamy
off of Grey's Anatomy reportedly rescued a teenager in a car crash. Grey's Anatomy star Patrick Dempsey rescued a teenage driver Tuesday evening after he crashed his car into the front yard of the actor's Malibu home.
That's a poorly structured sentence.
Yeah, it is.
Because you can't tell if Patrick Dempsey has crashed his car or if the teenager did.
Well, apparently it was the teenager who rolled his car several times and then ended up in the front yard of Dempsey's home. The 45-year-old actor freed the boy from the car before calling 911. He rushed to the scene with a first aid kit and fire extinguisher in hand.
Whoa, he's ready to go.
Yeah, I don't know if he's just sitting at his front window waiting for someone to crash into his front yard. But apparently his time in Grey's Anatomy taught him very well. He knew all the right questions to ask, like, squeeze my hand or whatever was the quote.
Squeeze my hand or whatever?
Yeah. I was hearing some doctor interviewed, and they were asking him about other medical shows like Grey's Anatomy and House. And apparently all doctors hate those shows and cannot watch them because I, again, have never seen an episode of Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
But they were mentioning some scene where they had a resident was supposed to be doing some sort of procedure on a patient, and they were so disturbed by it that they ran out in the hall and vomited or something because they couldn't take it. And the doctor was like, they would be fired immediately. You would
well,
not.
the other thing, you think you'd wash out earlier than by the time you got to your residency if you were that squeamish about things.
There's no margin for that kind of bullshit in an actual hospital. People aren't like, oh, are you okay? It doesn't happen. And then he was talking about House, how apparently all the amazingly just brilliant things that House comes up with are the most mundane things that any doctor would do and any doctor would know.
Yeah.
I know these people aren't doctors who are writing these shows, but just do a little research. I don't know.
You could make it like an accurate hospital, which would just be a lot of standing around, a lot of people coming in with like symptoms that they couldn't diagnose and sending them home.
That's the point,
and a bunch
too,
of people sitting
is
around with bleeding in the emergency room for 2 hours waiting for someone to help them.
And a lot of people who are actually sick and not just really attractive people who have like a bandage around their head.
Yeah.
There'd be people who are just disgustingly wasted away and horribly depressing, and you wouldn't want to
that
watch
would.
the show.
I think that's what actually goes on at the hospital, and they'd all be getting MRSA all the time because they were around all these horrible diseases. Hospitals are a terrible place.
Next story. Alicia Silverstone defends pre-chewing food for son bear 10 months. So apparently she, like some sort of egret, she takes her food, chews it in her mouth, and then spits it into the mouth of her baby son.
It is weird.
It's a very odd thing to do.
If I saw somebody do it, I wouldn't like stop them physically, but I would be like, I kind of like shake my head backwards and forwards.
Back in March, the 35-year-old actress posted a video on her website in which she pre-chewed food and had Bear eat it directly out of her mouth. The video sparked a huge controversy on the web over whether or not the practice pre-mastication, or pre-chewing solid food for an infant, was hygienic. Yeah, I mean, if you're eating,
it's fine.
If you're drinking milk out of her boob, I don't.
Yeah, I don't think there's any like a big hygiene issue.
I just don't know why she would post a video.
Well, yeah, that's a weird thing to do. And it's like the people who are like still breastfeeding their like child when they're 6 or whatever, you know.
That's disturbing.
That's disturbing.
My rule is when the child is old enough to verbally ask for milk from the boob, that's when you stop giving them milk from the boob.
In nature, when we were, thousands of years ago, when do you think that was happening?
Usually it was the kind of thing where you would breastfeed the baby until you got pregnant again, because that cuts off milk production.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I've heard that. Yeah. I've heard that. Like, it's like something I heard on the street. I think it's pretty much known by every woman in the world. Yeah. Someone did mention that to me once. I was like, that's interesting.
Oh, last story. Sarah Silverman. The women on The Bachelor are offensive. Have you been watching The Bachelor, Warren? I know that your girlfriend likes.
Yeah, I watched some of the last season, but The Bachelor is a 2-hour-long show that I can spend about 5 minutes in, and then I just pull my eyes out and run out of the room and scream in terror because it's so boring.
That's another 2-hour show?
It's 2 hours long.
I don't understand how that. I don't know how.
This is the thing I don't understand about these shows. They're very superficial. There isn't anything to them. I don't have the attention span to sit there for 2 hours and watch nothing happen. Besides for catty vain women snipe at each other.
Well, this is what Sarah Silverman was complaining about. She was saying she doesn't understand why people think she is offensive in comparison to women who compete for a man's affection on reality TV. I'll tell you what's offensive. These shows that are on television on ABC during prime time. 25 women in JCPenney prom dresses, fully grown, going, "He took us to a castle." No, he didn't. Producers procured a castle, and there's 25 of you. That's how special you aren't. She admits that she watches programs like The Bachelor and Real Housewives, but I feel like I can handle it. I think, wow, some young girl is watching this, and there should be a warning saying, this is not acceptable behavior. The biggest thing that a woman should realize is that there is not just one slot for a woman in any given thing. I think that's something that society, men and women both, have enforced. It's in the ether that one woman's success can only come at another woman's failure.
The show is bizarre, and I agree with Sarah Silverman and everything she said there. It's really weird.
Yeah.
And it's really weird. I think we talked about this before, how you just take some random guy and then you stick 25 women in a room with him and they all instantly fall in love with him and then compete for his affection.
Whereas if they had just seen him on the street, there would be
just
no
another
attraction
guy.
whatsoever, yeah.
But now he has to be, now I'm in love with him. So he takes me on dates, or we go sit in a hot tub, or we play beach volleyball on like some closed street.
Does he have sex with all these women?
Well, they have these like overnight visits sometimes when they get down to the last rounds, I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess it's always implied what went on, but you never really know. Which is just strange, too, you know?
So creepy.
Yeah, the whole thing is really creepy.
If you had a chance to be the Bachelor, would you be the Bachelor?
Probably. I mean, what?
I could just imagine you, like, wearing the clothes you wear now, like, still doing the same routine. Because don't they have to do dates that are things that the guy would enjoy, right? Like,
yeah.
So what would your date be?
I know, it's impossible for me to be the Bachelor. For this reason, I'd be like, can we all just relax? And
you have
just
to be
stop?
into, like, jet skiing or something, or...
Yeah, or, like, horseback riding, or, like, going, like, a bobsled or something. You have to do all this ridiculous stuff that I wouldn't want to do. I would be like, for today's date, you're all going to be quiet and leave me alone. And I'm going to go for a walk and get away from you awful, awful women.
I'd pay to see that.
Yeah, it's just me trying to escape. It's the same thing that would happen when we talked about we were on the real world, how we would just go to our job and work and make a successful company.
We would be normal. Which does not
try to
make for
avoid
good
the
television,
cameras.
Apparently. Yeah, I hate people taking pictures of me.
I'm just like, please stop. No more
I would
pictures.
say no flash photography, because I always look awful.
It's not flattering.
No.
I
don't know if this is a whole other subject, but, you know, I look in the mirror, I get out of the shower or something, I'm combing my hair, and I'm like, hey, looking good there, buddy.
I know, you look in the mirror at yourself a lot.
And, but then I'll take a picture, or somebody will take a picture of me, and I go, ugh, and I think I look awful. And I don't know if the picture isn't displaying the way I actually look, or if my perception of the picture is wrong, or if my perception of my reflection is wrong.
Pictures are weird, because I think just having somebody captured in that two-dimensional image for that moment in time doesn't always capture the way someone looks, because it's such a combination of mannerisms and also like the texture of someone's face and the way they look and stuff.
Lighting.
Yeah, it's, you know, you can't get that much of a sense really from just that picture.
But I'm curious if when I'm looking at the picture and I'm seeing a hideous zombie freak, if other people are seeing that as well, or...
That's what other people are seeing all the time when they're looking at you.
And that's what I'm wondering. Maybe that's just the case.
But also, you looking at yourself doesn't have anything to do with what other people see when they look at you.
Yeah.
You know?
Ugh, the perception. I hate that.
It's really
We've discussed
difficult.
this before, yeah. Anyway, Celebrity Minute. Once again, proving that...
Celebrities are awful.
Yeah, pretty much.
This has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
So while I was researching topics for the Celebrity Minute,
Yeah.
and just being appalled by the lack of any actual news,
Yeah.
all the stories about ooh, who looks hot in their beach bod, or look whose baby bump is, you know, it's just shut the fuck up. But there was one story about Charlize Theron was accepting some award for a decade in achievement or something like that in acting. And she was talking about the prevalence of 3D movies now and how she should have gotten a boob job.
Yeah.
Because it was a joke, I guess.
I think that sounds like a joke.
Yeah. But it made me think about the boob job in general. And I think maybe this could be That's How Women Are, if we want to explore this. We haven't been able to play the old Group of K and the Rabble Rouser song for quite some time. So
let's make it That's How Women Are.
Let's cue that up right now.
Say things that don't make any sense, and then they do things that make even less sense than the things they said that didn't make any sense. How they want you to buy them fancy jewels, but when you give it to them, they say you're a fool. Whoa, 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 whoa. 'Cause that's how women are.
So the Charlize Theron story and then a conversation I had last night at a party have really made me think about this lately. There was a girl at the party talking about how she was going to get a boob job. Mm-hmm. And she was somebody in her mid-20s, attractive, perfectly good, like, fit, nice, like, looked great. And she was talking about how she wanted to get a boob job because she only had an A cup.
Yeah.
And that wasn't big enough.
Yeah.
she was talking to two girls while she was having this discussion, and they were agreeing with her. Like, oh, if it makes you feel good about yourself and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, it's somewhat sexist to say that the only reason women get any sort of physical augmentation is to attract men. But I think that 9 times out of 10, that is the motivating factor behind it.
It's the boob job thing is weird, though.
Yeah.
In the sense that, I don't want to break any news here on the show, but it's not bringing in the men.
No.
It's bringing in, like, maybe severe white trash that is into that. Most men aren't.
Well, I was looking up I was trying to find some polls about public opinion, like what men think about boob jobs, and I found several different polls, and usually it's around 85 to 90% of men surveyed say that knowing that a girl has a boob job would completely turn them off, and they would not want to be in a relationship with that woman.
So this is the thing where that's why people start saying it's more about if it makes you feel better.
Yeah.
Because it's not doing anything for you in that regard. But it's also the thing, I think, with women where it's like, it's important for this person to attract men.
Right.
And they were dealt this hand that is their physical appearance. Mm-hmm. They want to somehow control that. There isn't anything you can do about it. You can be healthy. You can be a nice, kind person. That's all you can do. Going under the knife, there's nothing that can be done for you.
Well, and I think it's this weird catch-22 because there is something to be said for the fact that men are motivated by physical appearance. And so because women know that, and because, discussing The Bachelor earlier, they often feel that they're in competition with each other. They'll see one woman who looks a certain way getting a lot of attention, and so then they think, okay, maybe I need to make myself look in that way to get the same kind of attention. But they don't realize that. I have touched fake boobs before.
Dun,
and
dun, dun.
yeah. I lived in LA, and they're quite prevalent
They're all over.
down there. And there was a girl who I went on a couple dates with. I never got the Broncos out of the corral on the first few dates. And then once that finally happened and I made physical contact with those globules, it was so jarring and disconcerting to me that I called an audible on the entire thing and had to pretend that it had nothing to do with the fact that I had touched those plastic bags. But it was disturbing. And in some ways, people would say, oh, well, that just makes you horrible and shallow. But it says something to me about her mentality and the kind of self-esteem she has and it's very disturbing to me.
Yeah.
I would rather no boobs whatsoever than fake boobs.
I agree with that.
It's disgusting.
That's the dichotomy of it, though, right?
Yeah.
That, in a sense, women are doing it to attract men, even though it mostly repulses men.
Yeah.
They feel some sort of pressure, or they have some idea about it potentially attracting men, or they feel some sort of inferiority because they have small breasts.
I don't know. I guess the only thing you can say is that if a woman is seriously only doing it so that when she looks in the mirror she's pleased, fine. But know that the only men you're going to attract with a boob job are disgusting, sleazy assholes.
Usually, yeah.
Like people who are like, oh, look at those fake tits. That's the kind of guy that will be into you. And maybe that's what you're into. I don't know.
But the other thing is, it's like, what's the point of getting all this male attention, anyways?
I don't know. We're assholes. So just. I was also thinking about just. Also, while doing Celebrity Minute research, they had some ridiculous thing on Us Magazine online where it was like, awful celebrity plastic surgery.
Yeah.
And it was showing all these before and after pictures. Occasionally someone will have some gigantic schnoz and they'll get a nose job. And it's like, oh, okay, that looks fine. But if you think about it, like, let's say they don't even have a boob job, but they've done, some sort of cheek implant, some kind of chin thing, nose work. You start dating this woman, you're like, oh, it looks pretty good. You have a child and it comes out as a troll. Because it still has the genetic predisposition for all these odd features that have been taken away. It's false advertising and it's wrong.
The other thing is, okay, the boob job is something where you're competing with the fact that you weren't born the way you wanted to be, in a sense that you're not attractive. A lot of times, plastic surgery is like a fight against the inevitable process of aging.
Right.
Which is a fight you can't win.
Right.
You will lose, and every time you make any attempt to like fight it with artificial means that way,
ridiculous.
You look ridiculous. You look like a fool. You look like you have a balloon for a lip.
Yeah.
Or you look like your face is made of plastic, or you can't move your eyebrows.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. You need to like get to be in your 40s or 50s. Understand you're in your 40s or 50s and embrace that. You cannot be 20 forever.
Just realize that you will no longer be desirable to men. You just have to understand that and accept that. And then once you do, you can be at peace with yourself.
In a certain... Yes. But the thing is, if I'm not saying like don't have plastic surgery because you should embrace it just in itself.
Yeah.
If there was something you could do and still be attracted to men, go right ahead. It doesn't work. It's not working.
And what we're not trying to say that everything should be inspired by trying to be attractive towards men or attractive to men, but that seems to be the motivating factor behind most of this shit.
Well, it's on two levels, right? The fact that it's like I'm doing something, altering myself on some level to be attractive to men, which is something that people object to. I kind of object to on a certain level. It's also on the next level is the fact that these attempts to do it don't help at all. They're actually detrimental. Yeah. So you take both of those and you go, this is probably not a good move. And that's me telling you what to do, ladies.
So maybe this That's How Women Are is more of a that's how women should be.
You know,
don't worry about us, you know?
We don't want to sound like a couple granola guys over here, but we just want you to be the way you are.
Yeah. That's much more attractive. It's much more attractive.
And it's actually true.
It is. And I've talked about this 1,000 times where, to me, you know, in some ways I have very like odd specific tastes in people I'm attracted to. I don't always even know
what it is.
I can't put my finger on it. Like there'll be a woman who maybe everyone else would think, oh, she's beautiful, but for some reason I'm not attracted to her. And there's other women who maybe don't adhere to the kind of standard idea of physical beauty, but for some reason I'm immensely attracted. Yeah. And it has more to do with just confidence and being confident in yourself and being, I don't know, you project something. And somebody who has had tons of work done to try to attract men, that immediately turns you off, or turns me off immediately.
And the other thing is, a lot of the features that you're attracted to physically, you got it or you don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Ladies, you're going to be attracted to Brad based on your DNA. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of it. And there isn't anything you can do about it.
I know that's kind of foremost in a lot of our listeners' mind, is what they can do to attract me. And basically,
that's a dead end, people.
Yeah, it's an uphill battle.
And once you get there, it's a Pyrrhic victory. It's like pointless.
So basically, just be yourselves, ladies.
God, that comes off as really condescending, doesn't it? But it also is a very feminist, I think, perspective on things.
In a way, but then there's some feminists who would take it to another level and say, well, women should do whatever they want because who the fuck cares if men are attracted?
Oh, I agree with that. Do whatever you want. I'm just saying it's not going to, if you're doing it for a specific reason,
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So if you want to get a bunch of plastic surgery and have giant breasts that are made of plastic and that'll make you happy, I say you can do whatever you want. Yeah. But if you're doing it with the idea that you're going to like attract a bunch of like nice, good men, it's pointless.
Yeah. There you go.
That's how women are.
That is.
Yeah, they like to put pretty purple panties on. And then they turn around and tell you that every little bit of thing you've ever done is always wrong. Well, they like to cry when they stub their little toe. But no, they don't cry when they tell you to go. No.
So last night I went out and was at this party where a bunch of people were taking mushrooms. And I didn't take any, but there were a bunch of people at the party just like seeing trails and talking about all these weird random things. And since I was the one who was kind of sober, there were all these strange conversations that I was on the receiving end of, trying to follow their odd leaps of logic and stuff. And I don't know if this is what inspired it, but I went to bed that night and started having all these really odd dreams that were almost as though I were tripping or something while dreaming. Like I had one where I was sleeping with my teddy bear, which I do on occasion. Somebody like sent me this note and it said that my teddy bear had been stolen and replaced with a fake. And so this whole dream, I was trying to find the original one, and I kept getting these flashes of seeing him in this like weird attic, like covered with dirt, and these rats were eating him. I was like, oh no. And I was trying to find it. But then the other dream I had, which I thought was a little interesting, was that my leg was removed. It was some kind of weird surgical experiment or something that I had volunteered for, and they just cut off my leg. I was like, God damn it. And I didn't have a leg.
That's annoying.
But then throughout the dream, the limb that I had lost kept changing. And so I kept having to cope with different experiences, like, okay, now I don't have my right arm, now I don't have my left arm. And it made me think, Warren.
Yes.
Let's say you were in very difficult financial straits. I
Yeah.
don't know, you had a mortgage, you had a baby, and somebody came up to you and said that they would give you a large amount of money if they would let you, or if you would let them remove one of your limbs. First of all, how much money would it take? And second, which limb would you have them remove? And it has to be a limb. It has to be like a leg or an arm. It can't just be a finger or an ankle.
Well, if you're going to go leg or arm, you go left arm.
Left arm?
Yeah.
Okay, so you would do this for how much money?
Well, that's tough. I mean, with my baby and my mortgage, it's one thing. But I'm like now,
Yeah.
how much would it take for
Yeah.
me to like lose my left? Would it like, above the elbow?
It has to be above the elbow, yeah.
Holy shit! Wow. I don't know actually. Now that you think about it, I don't know.
Any amount of money? No amount of money
If
whatsoever?
there's enough money.
I don't know. Some of those prosthetics are pretty. Once you can't bend anymore. Once you lose it above the elbow, though, it makes it tough. They
Well,
can still.
you can't do anything with it at that
There's
point.
not a whole lot.
No, it's basically you just have one
a
arm.
little club.
But if I mean, would you do it for like $1 million?
I've said in the past that if I lost any body part, I would kill myself.
Yes, I know this is something you've often said in the past. If
Yeah.
you lost even part of your pinky, you
Yeah.
would kill yourself.
I probably would, because I couldn't stand being mutilated and not a whole person anymore. And no offense
Without
to
a
anybody.
foreskin. And you're saying this.
That's true. But
Yeah.
remember, we've already established that I don't
That's
consider that
fine, yeah.
mutilation. And no offense to anybody who is missing arms or legs or anything like that. But to me,
Yeah, it's very offensive what you just said.
yeah.
Well, this is the thing. How about let's take it down a little bit.
Okay.
What if they said, "I'm going to take off your left pinky"?
Left pinky.
How much would you do that?
Yeah, I might do that. It would have to be enough money that I would be financially independent for the rest of my life and not ever have to work again.
So, someone could cut off your left pinky for $10 million.
Yeah, $10 million. I'd do that.
5?
Well, wasn't there that Twilight Zone thing where they cut off a guy's pinky with a cleaver for a certain amount of money?
Really?
Or no, it was a bet. They were lighting a cigarette lighter, and if it didn't keep lighting, they were going to remove one of his fingers or something.
What sort of bet is that?
I don't know.
It's a terrible
I
bet.
don't know what he got if he won. That seems like a very bad term.
That's to keep his pinky.
If you win, yeah. Left pinky, $10 million. I'm trying to think of what I do with my left pinky.
I mean, you do use it.
You do.
But you could function your entire life perfectly fine without your
Right
left
now
pinky.
I'm practicing gripping my coffee cup.
You could still
with-
drink your coffee cup, and you still have your right arm as well. You know what I mean? You can pretty much, your life would be not change very much.
doing masturbation gestures.
You masturbate with your left hand?
Yeah, every once in a while just to mix it up.
Oh.
It's like another person. Yeah, I don't think I need it that much.
I mean, you wouldn't choose to do it for free, but I'm saying...
No. I mean, it does help with a firm grip on the left hand.
Yes.
But
Oh, I mean, it's better to have it than not have it, but it's like...
you'd almost have kind of like a dinosaur claw afterwards. I'm just... nobody can see this at home, but I'm sort of gripping things now with just my 3 fingers and 1 thumb. Yeah, $10
But I mean,
million.
even like when you see people like drinking their tea and they stick their
yeah, they
like,
do
little
stick their pinky
out
out.
'cause they don't even need that
They
pinky.
don't need that fucking thing. Yeah, would you do it for $10 million?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so we've established that. We'll go with the pinky for $10 million. Now, what about a limb? What about a leg? What about an arm? Any amount of money whatsoever.
There's not any amount of money that you could give me to get rid of my legs.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I don't think there's enough money that you could give me to make me cut off my left arm.
Yeah, I mean, in my work, I need my limbs.
Well, but you won't need
rather
your
badly.
limb anymore. You'll be so rich.
That's true.
The other thing is you'll be like rich, but you'll be walking around with one arm.
Do you think women would be less or more attracted to me with one arm?
No, that's an interesting question.
There's always the pity factor that you can't discount.
I don't think it would hurt that much. I don't think it would hurt you very. It might be a pity thing. Might
You
help
could
a
be
little bit.
that guy with one arm, you know? The
Well, it's
rich guy
interesting when
with
you
one
did that.
arm.
You did this thing where you pointed with both
with
fingers.
both fingers. Damn it.
You can't do that anymore.
It's time for Street Freak of the Week.
They wander the streets, scavenging for loose change and discarded cigarette butts.
Spare $1.
And give me a motherfucking cigarette.
Ran out of gas ways back. Got me that
You smoke weed, don't you?
good in the car.
I could use some change.
They may be mentally unstable and deserving of our charity, but that doesn't mean they can't be selected as the Warren and Bradley Show Street Freak of the Week.
So last night I was going to go to a party, which I mentioned earlier, and I figured I shouldn't come empty-handed, so I was going to walk to my local corner store and get some tall boys of PBR to bring to the party. And on my way there is a music store right near the corner store where I live. And I noticed a homeless gentleman standing outside the music store. This was close to 10 o'clock at night. And he was snapping his fingers and tapping his feet and sort of doing a little jig in front of the music store. And I thought this was a little odd because I didn't hear any music coming from anywhere. He was just doing this spontaneously in the street. So as I walked by, he kind of gave me this nod and then motioned towards the store and nodded his head and kept snapping.
Because he was in front of a music store?
Well, and I was like, okay, is there something going on here? And so as I got close, I noticed that I could vaguely hear somebody being given maybe a drum lesson or something. There was just this this very faint, like, like somebody tapping away on a...
That's enough to make him dance.
And,
apparently.
well, he was just enthralled. He could not stop the movement from the music, was just completely within his body. And so I found this amusing. And so I was like, oh, you like that, do you? And he's like, oh, yeah. And he was, snapping his fingers, tapping his feet. So I got out my iPhone, and, I also have the iPod integrated into the iPhone. So I was like, what's this homeless guy going to like here? So I was scrolling through some of my songs, and I found Move On Up by Curtis Mayfield.
Yes.
Move on up. So I put that on, and I held it out. And at first he seemed confused, like he didn't know what I was doing with the phone because he was wanting me to join in on his toe tapping. And suddenly the song starts. Maybe took about a 10 count as it sort of permeated him. Yeah. And suddenly he went into the most acrobatic, amazing dance I've ever seen in my entire life. Where it was almost like he was soul dancing because it is Curtis Mayfield. Yeah. He was like clapping his hands, twirling around like, oh, it was amazing. And I was this close to getting the camera app on my phone and videotaping it. Yes. But I thought that would just be a little too exploitative. Yeah. But I was so thrilled by this. And then while this was happening, this guy that I know who lives up the street a ways was walking by and sees me holding an iPhone playing Curtis Mayfield and a homeless man just like dancing this crazy jig. And he walked by and I think he was about to say hello to me, but then saw what was happening and just sort of went, and kept walking. And I just kind of went, hey, and gave him a little nod. But I don't know. It was one of the better Street Freak of the Week experiences I've had recently.
That's a pleasant one. Yeah. I think it ends pretty well. I feel like that was a good Street Freak of the Week.
I think I brought him some joy. He brought me some joy.
Seems like a pretty fun-loving Street Freak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. He seemed slightly addled by alcohol, but not so much that it was sad. It was just more of like a jolly kind of alcohol.
He's a jolly tramp.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of him just hanging out from the music store and dancing because there's music sold. Like he would go to a restaurant, be in front of it, and be like rubbing his belly.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so full because of the food in that restaurant.
Maybe that's just kind of the mentality you have to have when you live in those sort of straits. Yeah.
You go by a bank and you're like, I'm rich, as you stand in front of it.
A slightly darker Street Freak of the Week that happened to me years and years ago.
No.
Kind of along the same lines, but...
It always has to be dark eventually.
Well, yeah. There was one time, there was a friend I knew in Long Beach, California, and I lived in LA, and I had taken the train down to see her, and she never showed up. Like, she was supposed to pick me up at the train station. And so it was the last train of the night, and so basically I had to wait in Long Beach all night long until like 7 in the morning for the other blue line to come take me.
Jesus.
She was kind of evil. So I was pissed. I was like, what the fuck am I going to do here? So I had this whole odyssey where I was wandering around Long Beach in the middle of the night. This is when I broke into the aquarium.
Oh,
we
that's right.
This before.
Yeah, that's
saw
right.
the beluga whale. But at one point, I procured a bottle of whiskey. I won't tell you how. And I was wandering around drinking some whiskey, and I wandered into an alley, and there was a homeless person who saw me with the bottle of whiskey. Mm-hmm. And he was like, ooh. And he wanted some of the whiskey.
Oh, of course.
And I was going to give it to him, because I didn't want to drink an entire bottle of whiskey anyway. But he said that he would dance for it.
Oh.
And so he started doing this, like, old gray mare just ain't what she used to be. Sort of, like, really sad homeless dance. So I, like, there you go, gave him a drink. And then he's like, oh, one more. And I was like, yeah, it's okay, you don't have to dance. I'll just give you the whiskey. And he would do another dance and ask for another drink. And I would give him the drink. And it became so depressing and sad that eventually I just put the bottle down and, like, slowly backed away as he was doing his little shuffle. Not quite as happy or fun-loving as the homeless guy that I encountered last night.
Yeah, never lose sight of the fact that homelessness is a sad situation.
Maybe someday when we have more of a nationwide reach, we can have some sort of campaign to help the homeless. We don't want them to be not homeless anymore, because then we wouldn't have Street Freak of the Week. But we want to maybe, get them better clothes, get them some food.
Is that what we're going to do?
Yeah. Make sure, just get them up to the point where they're almost not homeless. But they can't cross that line completely, or else, this feature won't exist anymore.
I remember when we were kids, like in the 80s, people were a lot more fired up about homelessness.
Yeah.
Because I think that one guy made up some
they're always talking about millions of people dying.
Millions of homeless
families
families out there. And people were like, well, that stat sounds right. And it wasn't true at all. There weren't all these homeless families. As we know, most of the homeless people we see most of the time are like adult old men who are just drunk and like stumbling around. It was always the myth of the veteran with his kids on the street, or like the single mother who couldn't pay her rent and then she was out there on the street with her kids, which does happen. But I mean, there are services for those people. And those people,
very often,
and if they're not, and if the mother, as we know, isn't like severely mentally ill or doesn't have a substance abuse problem, she finds a way to get her kids into a shelter.
The homeless people we see on the streets are the ones who are so mentally disabled or so addicted to whatever substance they happen to be doing that they don't take advantage of the services that are available.
Yes.
If you are at all cognizant of what's going on, you can get into a shelter. There are homeless shelters. And
I think a lot of the reason we don't hear about homelessness as much anymore is because it seems like sort of a thankless task.
Yeah.
It's a rough thing because it's like, what really can you do for those people a lot of the time, right?
Yeah. Well, you
try to keep body and soul together.
Possible, yeah.
Yeah, but it's sort of a bummer. And
they're not going to become a lawyer, If you have some sort of program, the best you can do is get them some food and get them some warm clothes.
Because that was part of the myth that was going on with homelessness before too, was the fact that these were people that just didn't have a house.
Right.
They didn't have a job.
It was
so they were
people
living
who
on the
were
street.
down on their luck.
Down on their luck, so they're living on the street.
I don't care how dire my straits get. I'm not going to end up on the street dancing for whiskey. That just isn't going to happen. That's not
you have
cards.
to. You got to have something else going on for that to actually occur.
So, who should we give the Street Freak of the Week to? Should it be the sad whiskey dancing homeless man or the happy chipper homeless man?
We're giving it to the happy one, of course.
Who loves Curtis Mayfield?
But we know by now the sad one's probably dead.
Oh, well, don't bring us down that much more. Maybe he's still dancing. In my mind, he's still dancing in that alley.
He's dancing in heaven right now,
drinking all the whiskey he wants. So congratulations, Curtis Mayfield, homeless man. You've been selected as the Street Freak of the Week.
Our hats are off to you, Mr. Homeless Man, because you've been selected as the Warren and Bradley Show Street Freak of the Week. This has been the Warren and Bradley Show, brought to you by Warren Van and Bradley Victor. For podcast news and information, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Warren and Bradley. Follow the show on Twitter at Warren and Brad. Subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. For episode archives and episode pictures, go to warrenandbradley.com, and to contact the show, write to podcast@warrenandbradley.com.